The Dixie Chicks were and are three women from Texas who sing country songs and play country instruments. When they started in 1989, there were four of them. One of them left, one of them was replaced, and I think the new one was contractually obligated to be blonde because all three of them are blonde. They have existed as a band for 35 years. For over the last few years of that, so since 2020, they're now officially known as the Chicks. They've dropped the word Dixie, but many people, including me, still think of them as the Dixie Chicks. I don't have a connotation between the word Dixie and slavery, but apparently that's why it was dropped. But then again, I still think a Snickers should be called a marathon. And if you live outside the UK, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about, possibly. In 2003, shortly before the invasion of Iraq, the Dixie Chicks publicly said that they were ashamed that George W. Bush was from Texas and did not endorse the war. And this caused a backlash and boycotts. But despite of this, they have managed to sell overall around 33 million albums, and they have released 8 studio albums so far. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the fourth album by the band now known as the Chicks, but then known as the Dixie Chicks, and it was the first with their new lead singer Natalie Maines, and it's my first listen to it. So this album sold 13 million worldwide, so it's a pretty high-selling album, and it's an album of country music and songs, most definitely. So country is one of my least favourite genres, and I have some issues with country, and we're going to butt up against some of those as we go through this review. I think the three things that I complain about country music are first that it can be quite formulaic. Secondly, the singers can be quite nasal, and nasal singing is never something that I'm a huge fan of. And third, that it can be overly emotionally manipulative. And I think the third one is the one that I object to most. Um, this album, I would say, is actually mostly acceptable country. So I actually didn't have too many problems with this. So musically, there's several country feels. There's nothing surprising here. It's nicely played. I'm not a fan, as I said, of the pedal steel guitars, which is a kind of sound, but I do like slide guitar when it's an acoustic, like an acoustic guitar, or in fact, on the occasions here, it's a dobro, which is a type of resophonic guitar. And I do like the dobro when it's not being played with a slide. And I like the banjo that's on here and the fiddle, and there's lots of fiddle on here. There are lots of these bits that I really like, and the pedal steel isn't kind of front and center. It's kind of occasionally there in the background. In fact, I feel like I can convince myself that this, as country, leans a bit towards bluegrass. And bluegrass, when you move into stuff that can be called bluegrass, which is kind of the folky end of country, especially where it has similarities to Celtic folk. So it starts to cross over with Irish and Scottish folk music. Then I find that very acceptable and very enjoyable. So there's this kind of shift in country that makes it. I don't like it on this end, and I like it on this end, and somewhere in the middle. And it's kind of, I think it's leaning this direction here. Um, Musically, also with the harmonies, I felt like it was a bit like the Cause, who are, I remember if they're American or Canadian, but they're a band that have more folk roots to them rather than the country roots. But it's a similar sound, I would say, in lots of ways. So the voice. So let's talk about Natalie's voice. It's a really strong voice. She can sing really well. She does use a lot of, she's definitely kind of a solid country singer. He uses quite a bit of the country kind of ornamentation. I don't mind that. It's sometimes a bit on the nasal side, which is where I start to struggle a bit. Um, I felt like it's a weird thing to pick out on a voice. She has slightly underpronounced S's. So not quite a lisp, just little edge to the F. I mean, I'm kind of doing a lisp there, but slightly muted. And that bizarrely reminded me of a character from Buffy the Vampire Slayer called Darla, who has the same kind of slight lack of S's in her voice. Let's go into the songwriting. So the songs here by lots of writers. There's one song written by two of the chicks, so the two who are not Natalie. Um, and musically, it's generally nice. Some of it's kind of slow and folky. Some of it's kind of faster. The one song that's say written by the two of the chicks is musically nice itself, and it is particularly slow and folky. But it has a moment in it that is very emotionally manipulative, and it's kind of slap bang in the middle, and I won't tell you what it is. But it is the thing that really puts me off country, and as I was listening, it kind of took me a few tracks to recover from that and to go, actually, yeah, let's not judge all the tracks by this one moment. So looking back in retrospect, I particularly like one, two, three, four, five tracks here. So there's your trouble. Tonight the heartache's on me. Let her rip. One of the slower ones. So mostly it's the faster ones that I like more. Am I the only one who felt this way? And that's written by Maria McKee. I didn't know it was by Maria McKee when I realised that I liked it. But when I saw it by Maria McKee, I that didn't surprise me because she has a real sensitivity in the way she puts songs together that makes it feel less malty. Um, and the last track on the album, which is "Give It Up or Let Me Go," which I know I've heard before, and it's a Bonnie Raitt song, and I like that track as well. Yes, so. As I said, I prefer the faster songs in general, and overall, I would say that this is very mainstream acceptable country, not mainstream for country, but mainstream for the rest of the world in terms of coming to country. So it's very kind of approachable country, let's say. Let's use that word. So I've got mixed feelings. So about a third of the album, I was a bit kind of, eh. About a third of the album was, yeah, okay. And about a third of the album, I was, yeah, all right. So mixed feelings. But some of it was good, and some of it was kind of acceptable, and some of it was just me off a bit. So there we go. That's what I think. And as always, at this point, I'd like you to tell me what you think. So please do by leaving a comment. That's it from me for now.
Let it rip, let it fly. Come on, baby, say it. Do you think I'm gonna cry at about the fall? And I ain't gonna die. So if you're gonna say goodbye, don't take no day. Let it rip, let it fly.